In today's video, we are going to see all those occasions in which, besides representing the graph that shows us a general overview of the behavior of the data, the income and consumption growth, its comparisons, where they peak, etc. Well, besides those mentioned situations, we might also find utility in representing the exact data input in the graph. The thing here is that the data is within the file, but it could also happen that I wanted to print this chart. And therefore, I would love for all this data that informs the graph to be highlighted just as well. Well, so in order to do that, we are going to use this tool that Excel has available, and it is called labeling. Let's get started by adding labels to the data that constitute the chart. We are going to be adding the value of the income and consumption for each year. It is important to note that we must use this tool carefully, especially in big charts like this one. The graph on the screen is pretty complete and has a lot of data. Surely, if I decide to label each one of the points with the according value, for example, if we quite literally label all the data showing in the chart, this could be the perfect way to overload the chart, and we do not want this because, even though we would have all the information, said information is not even readable the moment that it overlaps. As it is obvious now, this specific setting of this tool must only be used when we have graphs with way less data. For example, in this other case with fewer points, it could be insightful to represent all the data points precisely above each one of the points. We can control all the displacement options by clicking on the different settings that Excel offers us. That is, in the center of each point, at the top, at the bottom, underneath, etc. Well, we would also have, like we have seen in many other videos, many options when it comes to visualizing all this information. For example, in this case, we have selected the red set, that is, the income, and we, for example, could visualize the income in the following way. By clicking right here, the income data will appear above, and for this other data, we could set it so it appears below. All right. So we have seen that in this specific case, by tweaking a bit the visualization options, we have made the whole graph way clearer and easier to comprehend. I also have to mention all these options that we have here in the same tab we were looking at, that allow us to customize the labels in various ways. For example, in this case, we can make the numbers smaller, or even remove those two last decimal digits. In other words, we might think that, for this specific case, expressing the data without decimal digits is already accurate enough. Let's try to apply that. First, we have to go to this tab right here, and after locating the right visualization setting we were talking about, we can then apply it for each of the data sets. So after applying that option, we do see that, slowly but surely, the graph is becoming not only clearer, but also more readable. Well, after all this, we now have a more insightful graph that could fulfill certain needs we might have. Now, we do not only see a general overview, but on top of that, we now can appreciate the specific data that forms said chart. I truly hope you have found this video useful. See you in the next Excel lesson.